Right, so after waiting not reasonable amount of time for some bits, I mean, someone said last time that AutoDock take forever. I think AutoDock only take forever if you're a UK-based customer, because it's a nightmare to get it to us these days. But I pulled this thing apart on Friday, ordered the bits I needed, and it was here by Tuesday afternoon and Wednesday morning. Can't moan about that. Then I decided, as I showed you last time, to try and tighten my rear leaf spring bolts, shackle bolts, and that was a stupid idea, so we broke them off, so we had to cancel my CT again. And I ordered the bolts from the U-bolts from AutoDock, and then I couldn't get any nuts because they're like a specific type of thing on these, so I ordered them off eBay FR thinking that was be a bit quicker, and that translated back to them coming from Coastal Motorhomes in Ringwood, which obviously, because they have to clear customs, took forever. So we had to get inventive to get the original nuts off of some sheared off lumps of threaded bolt, using a barbecue, a heat gun, and another charcoal to get them absolutely stonking red hot. So we've done that. So the back axle's bolted on, the seals are repaired to a satisfactory standard and covered in underseal. We've put new side lights in the front of it. We've serviced it. So she's got new oil filters, fuel filters, air filters, all that type of stuff. I bought some new backlights at the same time because they was rubbish. Everything flashes and wonks as it should do. We got new windscreen wipers. We got functioning squirties. All the brakes and the tyres seem good. I reckon CT's 2 o'clock this afternoon, we stand a fairly good chance of passing. Now, sadly, it'd be lovely to video the CT process, but I doubt that's going to be possible. One, because I don't know them terribly well, and just some random Englishman turning up explaining in piss poor French that could he video his MOT probably won't work. But anyway, we're going to get the old goat fired up. Ugh, where is it? Waiting for hitty light to go out. Ta-da! Gotta love a 5-cylinder Sprinter. Driving towards Soze Vose, where the CT station is. We have arrived. This is a secure test CT station. This is a Sozy Vosy one, and they are a lovely bunch. They're really helpful. Let me turn the camera around a minute and I'll yagger it. So basically the control technique, as it's known, which is basically your sort of French version of a UK MOT. Let me wind this window up so it's a bit quieter. Now they differ quite massively from a British Ministry of Transport test, to the fact that a French CT is every 2 years. On a car, obviously, you bring it in every 2 years. For a commercial vehicle, it needs a smoke test every year. So, like now, we will go for a smoke test and a full inspection, and then next year, obviously, assuming that she passes, I will need to bring it back purely just for an emissions test, and then the year after that, when it's due again, I will have to have a full control technique. Now, control technique stations in France are purely independent. So basically, they do not fix vehicles. They will not recommend anyone. They won't send you anywhere. They are purely here just to test your vehicle's roadworthiness, which I think is a really cracking idea. So that there's never a worry that they're on something or making money out of you or fobbing you off. They are purely here as a means of making sure that your vehicle is roadworthy, and they're not interested in making anything more out of you than the cost of a test. So we're going to dop the old Sprinter in, toddle off down the road for a cup of coffee. I say secure test control technique in Sozy Vosy. If you live in this area, they have been fab. We've been coming here, God, must be getting on for 8 or 10 years now. The guy's English is pretty reasonable if your French isn't top quality when it comes to vehicle booking. And also, one of the most handy things with the Securitas system, Securitas is the company, the larger national company that they run under. So this is a Securitas franchise, I am assuming, that if you go onto Securitest online. You can actually pick and book your CT, your date, your appointment, do everything on a computer. So if you want a Wednesday, and then they'll give you a range of times all the way through the day, depending on which slots have been booked and haven't, and you just book that slot, they'll confirm it with an email, and then basically away you go from there. Right, here goes. Ta-da! Right, we have passed our control technique with a few advisories. Nothing terribly, get a very similar sort of setup. This is me, it's me control technique pass, and you get a handy little sticker in your window. So you've got your certificate of insurance there, tell your vehicle's insured, and above it is your control technique sticker. Now, obviously we've passed today, which is the 14th of the 9th, 2023. So basically, I've got CT, and then below it I've got pollution. So I'm due a pollution on the 14th of the 9th, 2024, and I'm due a full test again on the 14th of the 9th, 2025. We do have a list of advisories. Those are those things a person is supposed to have fixed by the next time it goes in. So front brake pipes is a bit deteriorated, the rubber ones. I've got a squeaky suspension joint that side, which is particularly squeaky. Seems to have started especially today. My tracking's out. Tell that my steering wheel's off to one side, and the seat is rubbish or deteriorated, which we knew about. So basically, ta-da-da, 2 years motoring as long as it passes its CT test next year. Right, now it's completely road legal. What we're going to do is we're going to disappear off over that way about 10 kilometres, because I found a house and a workshop I really fancy, and I thought as well I might as well show you guys what my cunning plan is. Now, as you know, property in the UK is poisonously expensive. So if you wanted a house with a separate yard and a big man shed, you'd need lots of hundreds of thousands of pounds. France is a bit difficult. Now, there are some problems these days. I'm going to mention the Brexit word again and upset a load of people and get shouted at, but it's my opinion, and you can have your opinion, I'll have mine. Pre-Brexit, this worked really well. So you could work in France, you could work all over Europe, you could work in Britain. It wasn't too much of a problem. So years ago when I worked here, I think I had I reckon it was like an auto entrepreneur, the lowest of the low, no accredited qualifications, because if you move to France, you can only advertise for the qualifications that you've got job-wise. So if you want to be a builder and you need to be a stonemason, you have to be a qualified stonemason. So if you were a British mechanic and you moved over here, you'd need to get your qualifications accredited to advertise mechanical stuff, which I never did back then. I mean, the entrepreneur scheme gave you a tax number, an ability to pay tax, and also allowed you to sort of work legally, but basically in a sort of a non-qualified way. So anyway, we're going to go that way, go and look at a house I want to buy, and then I'll tell you the price of the place. We'll probably have to do it leaning out the window of a van so we don't go and upset all the locals, wondering what we're doing with camera and filming stuff. But anyway, she passed. Onward. Right, so basically, after a bit of driving around the French countryside, we are near a little village in the Charentaise called Le Vivier. Now, I happened to spot this particular house about 6, 8, 10 months ago. Now, stuff in France doesn't sell particularly quickly. So if I pull over just here, and I'll turn it. Ooh, let's go a bit further forwards. I'll turn my phone round and I'll show you what I'm looking at. So basically, I've managed to upset all the local French dogs. Big man sheds and half a hectare, so just over an acre of ground. And then if you look down there, let me fire the wagon up and move forwards and upset everyone's dog. Yeah, so now I shouldn't be holding on to this and driving a van, but hang on, handbrake would be handy if it was off. That's better, she drives much better with the handbrake off. So we come down the bottom, down here, you'll see a little cottage, house, probably more a house. So just here, there, two up, two down, needs a bit of modernisation, but the roof's good, little yard on the front, little yard on the back. Just basically, I don't want to be mowing grass till doomsday. So that house and the yard up the road is currently on the market for around 30,000 euros. That's like 28 grand. That's without even haggling. So I could buy that and the yard outright. Madam, my other half, obviously love of my life, can work remotely for up to 2 months using an internet link, so she could come for a while, and obviously she can be here whilst I'm in my big man shed up the road. I mean, half an acre, well, it's an acre of gravelled yard, would suit me perfect. Yeah, so basically that is my cunning plan. Now, obviously since we left the European Union, you can only spend 90 days in one lump in the EU. So you have to, it's 90 days in every 180 now. So that means you could do 3 months here solid, and then you have to leave the European Union for 3 months, and then you come back for another 3 months. Obviously, you don't have to do it all in one huge, great 3-month block. And obviously now there's some problems with the working side of things. So I think Madam will be okay, but I'm going to have to check that. But obviously I could be in difficulty, because now I'm going to need some description of work visa or French residency, which gives me problems with the UK. It's just a nightmare now. So anyway, I'm going to work that out. So my cunning plan is a man has, tidy mark for golf whizzing past. A man has obviously more than one set of kit. So I've got a massive great 6-ton mobile workshop van that we never use in the UK. I was thinking, get this, bring that out here. I mean, even to the point, to be honest, with the YouTube-y type stuff, maybe buy a few exciting vehicles, do them up, ship them home, blah, 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 blah. The idea's there. I mean, currently, I rent my property in the UK, all of it. And we weren't of the mortgageable generation, because you can't have a mortgage when you're self-employed, you know, because you're not reliable. As if we're not as motivated as someone with a job or something like that. But I can buy that place outright. I'll probably only have to sell a couple of vans, top my finances up a bit. Obviously there'll be some fees and some haggling and some stuff on that, but that gives me a property, and then work out quite what the plan is. I mean, I'm in my mid-40s, I don't want to work to the day I drop. Anyway, before I waffle on, the other thing that I might need to tell some people whilst I'm here. So, this is a certificate of immatriculation, which is the French version of a vehicle logbook. Now, this is quite a complicated system. Now, obviously, in the UK, if you'd have just purchased this van like I have, you'd have filled out the logbook, sent it to the DVLA, and in about a fortnight's time, probably, I mean, it's 3 days, I think, these days, if you do it using the online sign over, but let's say the worst couple of weeks, you get a new logbook with your name on it. Doesn't quite work like that in France. So basically, to sell a vehicle in France, as a private person to another private person, it has to have either, I think it's 18 months, 18 months control technique on it, or if it doesn't have that much control technique on it, it has to have either a failed CT or a new one. So obviously this van belonged to a mate of mine that had been sat for a while, so to do this transfer easily, I took the vehicle off of him, whizzed it, took it, and it's just passed its CT. So now we need to get this piece of paper swapped from his registered address and his name into mine. Now, I'm going to say it again, Brexit, you could, as a non-French resident, obviously if you had a second home have a vehicle here registered in your name. That seems to have changed. I could be wrong, but it looks really difficult now. So obviously now to use, you used to go to your prefectural with this, and obviously they know about your CT thingy, and obviously some proof of ID, the correct documentation, the certificate of insurance, and then you'd have to pay for the transfer, and then they'd issue you with a new one of these. So normally around the couple €100 mark, you pay tax on a vehicle every time you sell it, depending on its age, its emissions, or every time you buy it, sorry, on its age and its emissions and blah, 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 blah. It can be quite an expensive experience. At least now, since the changes in 2009, you don't have to have a new number plate every time. So what I've got to do now is use the French ANT system online, because everything's now online, to transfer this from my friend's name, but I cannot put it in my own name because I'm not a French resident with a tax number, I don't think. So, mate of mine that I've helped out here for years, where this thing is staying current until we decide what we're doing with it, he's quite happy for me to chuck it in his name. I've insured it for the pair of us, so I'm going to get the local garage to do this for me, another friend of mine. I can pay them a fee for transferring it over, because to use the ANT system you have to set yourself up with an ANT account, which I wouldn't really need because I'm not going to need it again at the moment. So it's easier just to pay a mate of mine, Chris, the couple €300 that it will be necessary to transfer this Mercedes Sprinter from my mate Rich's name, get him out of it, and then also put it into my mate Kev's name for the meantime. Technically it'll make it his van, but we're not worried about that. I've known him for years. And the other strange thing that you have in France that you don't have in the UK is that even, I mean, I don't think it's 125% written in stone, but a vehicle parked up in your garden that you're not using has to be insured. You can buy what's sort of known basically as garage insurance. But on the other side, insurance is not expensive. To insure this van, fully comprehensive for the two of us, for a year, I think was about €325. It's not killer, is it? Anyway, enough waffling. So she's MOT'd, or CT'd, control technique, for a 2-year period. Obviously, smoke test in 12 months' time. You've seen me Canning house-based plan. I am returning to England in the next couple of days, so I've got the joyous drive all the way back up to Normandy to get on a ferry, because funnily enough I'm supposed to be here for 2 weeks, but I might happen to have been here for 3, so I really ought to get back and get on with some work. So I will leave you all in peace. Thank you very much. Al?